I'm transportation reporter Seth Kaplan at Reagan National Airport in Washington, where American Airlines is the busiest airline, just as it is at Miami International Airport. Of course, busiest nowadays is a relative term, right? No airline is all that busy. I want to talk about two things that I think are on everybody's mind. First of all, what about airline jobs, all our neighbors and family members who work at airlines? And then travel tips, or maybe more like non-travel tips nowadays. If you're holding a ticket, you want to cancel it, what can you do? First of all, those jobs, U.S. airlines say this is worse than 9/11. Fewer people booking tickets, fewer people traveling. But so far, it's not as bad as 9/11 in one important way. You know, 9/11 happened on a Tuesday. By that Saturday, airlines were already laying off tens of thousands of employees. This time, U.S. airlines haven't laid off one direct employee among the major airlines anyway. Now, can that continue? Hard to say. Talked to some employees here of airlines. They didn't want to go on camera with me, but they said they're starting to feel nervous. That, by the way, is different from about a week ago when I was out here, and they had a little more optimism that the airlines this time would be strong enough to get through it without any job cuts. Of course, as I said, no direct layoffs, lots of other people impacted just at the airport itself. Not to mention the cruise industry, the hotel industry, so important throughout South Florida. And now, I did manage to talk to a few people who got off a flight from Miami tonight. Yeah, a few people are traveling, and they told me it really wasn't such a bad experience.
The plane smelled really clean, so I felt good about that.
Sometimes I think maybe being on an airplane might be safer than being anywhere else, because they really did clean things down and made us feel very comfortable.
Of course, they're in the minority by traveling at all nowadays. They estimated maybe 20 or 30 people on that flight from Miami. That's actually more than I've heard about on some flights these days. Now, if you do need to travel, one piece of advice: a study a couple of years ago found that people are actually slightly less likely to get sick if they're sitting in window seats on the plane. Nothing magical about the window. It's just that you're not surrounded by as many people. So some good advice to keep in mind, really at any time, but especially right now with coronavirus going around. For the rest of us who maybe don't want to travel right now, you're holding a reservation, what do? Don't cancel too early. Yeah, you heard that right. One of those rare times in life when procrastination pays. The reason is that if you cancel your flight, the airline, yes, it's going to be more flexible nowadays about waiving those change or cancellation fees, but it's going to give you a travel credit. If the airline cancels on you, very often it's going to give you the option to get a full refund. And with the way things are nowadays, I think a lot of us would rather have actual money than a voucher. So worth waiting to see if they do that. On the other hand, don't wait too long. Make sure you do let them know that you're not going to catch the flight, because with a lot of airlines, if you don't notify them before the flight, then you will be out the money. So let's say you're holding a reservation maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. Just put a note on your calendar now to let the airline know maybe a day or two before you fly. Now, if you do jump on the website or app, you can't do it. You need to call the airline and you're faced with a really long hold time of several hours. One final piece of advice: use WhatsApp or a service where you could call overseas for free. If you're flying an airline like American, United, Delta, where they have offices around the world, press the option for English and you might get through more quickly than calling that 800 number in the U.S. In Washington, I'm Seth Kaplan for Inside South Florida.